This is it. This is episode 584, No Laugh Track podcast here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. My name is Justin Severson. I get to host this each and every week, including with people that I've got to know pretty well the last, many years I've been doing this. Chris Porter is here, was here last year at this time, was here the year before about this time.
Yeah.
You're sort of like the Valentine's Day either of or
The
week after.
ish or week after, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Although, man, I feel like I was here a couple of times ago and it wasn't awful outside. It was like a.
So you were here in that 2 weeks in August, you
I
said?
think so.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That really narrows it down.
One of the few weeks you don't walk outside and immediately say fuck. Yeah. One of those.
Yeah, I do want to point out, because I think it's so interesting, that let's just say quickly, you recently moved back to Kansas City.
I did, yeah.
And the temperature right now, today in Kansas, is what?
13. And it's 6 degrees hotter here.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then
Super balmy.
and next week in Kansas, what will the temperature be? You said it's
60.
60.
Yeah.
It's going to go up that much in a week.
Oh.
Because
yeah.
that's how out of nowhere this cold snap is there, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's been an adjustment, and I've only been home for like a month and a half. But it's like, yeah, in LA, you know what the weather is 80% of the time.
Yeah.
And there it's like it's 50, it's 1, it's 40, it's 30. And you got to deal. And I kind of enjoy it because like especially days like today, if I was at home, like this is every reason to not leave the house.
I was like, is he going to say not leave the house?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, oh no, I'm not doing. Everything's canceled. Why? Because it's 1.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and you can't. Granted, in LA, you can like, it's a different level. Like you can be like, I'm not coming to dinner. It's windy.
Yeah, right.
Like that'll play.
My hair, my LA hair. Come on.
Oh yeah, I can't get out there.
Exactly. How moving normally sucks. For most people, it's like people
Yeah.
dread moving, right? Starting a new job, moving. People dread these type of things.
Yes.
How was it for you moving from California to Kansas?
It wasn't easy. I wouldn't say it was difficult, but it wasn't. I mean, I did it. It happened a lot sooner than I thought I was going to. I wasn't going to move until like the spring, and then a place that was awesome kind of fell in my lap.
Sure.
But I had to jump on it.
Yeah.
And so, and I knew I was fucking myself because I looked at my calendar and I was like between now and move date, because it was December and holidays, I was like, I have 4 actual days to pack up everything.
Oh,
And
shit, yeah.
And it was 2 days in 1 week and 2 days in another week.
Yeah.
And luckily my parents were in town for one of the weeks. So my mom helped me pack everything up. My dad watched. And
Was that expected?
a bit. I mean, he helped with the heavy stuff and like the stuff I actually needed him for. But otherwise, him and my sister just sat on the couch and were like, it was tough for my sister because she still lives in LA. And so me bouncing was kind of
Yeah.
difficult for her to handle.
So how close do you live to mom and dad now?
10 miles.
10 miles.
Yeah, 20 minutes by car.
And the last time you lived that close to them was in the same house, I'm guessing?
2005, I think.
Yeah.
I lived. Did I live with them in 2000? Yeah, I'm sure I did for a brief period.
Okay.
Yeah, before I moved out there.
Wild.
Yeah.
There's Chad Daniels has a great career and he's based in Minnesota. Like, obviously we know not
Yeah.
everybody needs to live in
No,
LA
and
or
he
New
was
York.
he was definitely, him and Dan were definitely one of the beacons. I mean, none of them told me to move, but
Yeah.
it was definitely like that thing where you were like, oh, you can be successful from anywhere.
Yeah.
Especially after the pandemic and everything, the whole paradigm changed.
Sure.
And so, a lot of my friends moved from LA during the quarantine, like Jimmy Schubert and Tone Bell. And so, when it came time to move, I called like the booker of the Improvs and my agent.
You did.
Yeah, I just wanted to get the other side of it really and be like, what happens if I move? And I remember Aaron from the Improv going, Chris, if you would have asked me this 5 years ago, I would have told you you're an idiot. But she goes, you can do it from anywhere now.
Yeah.
And I do 42 weekends a year. And I could do more if I wanted to. I mean, I literally have to take a month off in January and a month off in the summer or else my agent wouldn't allow it.
Yeah,
So,
really.
Yeah.
Wild.
So, and then luckily I have 2 cousins getting married this year, so I get to stay home for those. And
Nice.
but yeah, otherwise it's pretty balls to the wall. So it's hard to. So it doesn't matter where I'm from as long as I keep producing material and content. And all
Are you
that.
shoveling your old driveway?
Yeah, did it yesterday before I left.
Is that right?
Yeah, because we got, I don't know, like 5 inches over like 2 days. And I remember the first day they were just like, we're getting more. And I'm like, well, I'm not shoveling yet.
Yeah.
And the first weekend I was in the house, we got the worst snow we've gotten in 40 years.
Oh, maybe you're to blame? No, just coincidence?
My neighborhood thinks so.
I bet.
Because they're like, oh, they're just paying you back for all the snow you missed. I'm like, that's fair.
People were chatting about you on Nextdoor, probably, right?
And so the first day, my driveway is very short, and then my neighbor is a single woman that's a little older than me, and she has an autistic kid. And she was out there shoveling by herself. So I went out there and helped her shovel her driveway.
There you go.
And then, not this snow, but the last snow we got, I shoveled and then shoveled half her driveway just as like being a nice guy.
Yeah.
I just shoveled enough to where she could get in and get to her house. And then like an hour after I did that, this big ass truck pulled in that she had hired and cleared the rest of it in about 4 minutes. And it's just like,
Isn't that how it works?
no good deed.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah.
We have all
And
been
I'm
there.
pretty sure he drove by while I was doing it and was like, maybe that's not the one I'm supposed to be doing.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, you slowed him down a bit.
Yeah. He was like, this motherfucker trying to take my job. I was trying to help out a neighbor. Also, it's one of those neighborhoods where everyone knows everyone.
Right.
Like I got, day one, the neighbor came over and she's like, over there's this person, over there's that person. We have a neighborhood cat that roams around the neighborhood that is an outdoor cat. And the other night, me and my buddies were over watching the Jayhawks.
Yeah.
And my buddy's like, there's a cat in your window. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's Mac. He just roams the hood. And
Have you been feeding Mac?
No.
Are there neighborhood rules about feeding Mac?
Well, apparently my neighbor is the actual. She was like, I'm the legal owner.
Okay.
So if it bites you, I'm the one you sue.
Oh, wow.
But she goes, it spends most of the time over at this other person's house, but it's predominantly a outdoor cat. And I remember during the blizzard, I talked to her and she was like, oh, Mac's in my house and he hates it. And it's just, and I went from a place, I lived in a building in LA that was like you'd say hi to your neighbor. I couldn't tell you her name to save my life. And now I stand out on my porch. I'm like, what's up, Heidi? It's going to work.
It could turn into that thing, though, where like you're maybe it's already happened where one day you're looking out the window like, are they out there? I just want to go to my car and not get caught in a conversation. I just need to go to the store.
Oh, no. Luckily, I park in the garage, so I'm covered all the way in.
Tinted windows on the way out.
Yeah.
They don't even know who's in here.
And only 4 of the neighbors are nice. Like the neighbor on my other side who's a fairly attractive. Like I haven't seen her really, but she seems like an attractive woman. She hasn't fucking said a word.
Interesting.
Yeah. But also, I think most of the time she sees me, I'm out on the back porch watching my dog pee and smoking a blunt. So probably not the most approachable.
Or maybe very approachable.
I mean,
depends on your interests.
I guess she's not on my vibe.
Let's talk about the dog. So I was at the show last night. It was fantastic as always, but you kind of surprised me when you brought a dog out on stage at the end.
I mean, that's not normally the move. I believe someone requested it.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got into it. I think I was just talking about the drive up here or having the dog in some facet.
Yeah.
And someone asked me to bring the dog out, and she was in the green room, so I was like, yeah, why not? And also, I don't know. I don't think she knows. When I leave for a long time, I don't, obviously she doesn't know where I'm going.
Sure.
So I figured this is me at work. And it scared the living shit out of her. Because she, I didn't really see it from her perspective, but she was asleep in her bag. And then all of a sudden she's like basically up for auction. Like I held her up like Lion King.
Oh yeah, all the lights are on her.
And everyone's like, oh, and she's like, what the fuck is happening? Aren't you, Lucy? You goof.
Did you get any good offers for her after the show?
Uh,
Let me take her home.
Oh yeah, no.
Let me take both
I
of you
believe
home.
someone was like, pass her around.
I heard
and
that.
I was like, yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That was also the girl that earlier in the show, before you were on stage, was talking about how much she liked uncircumcised dicks.
oh really?
I don't know if you overheard that from back.
No. But it was brought up during the meet and greet. Someone came up to me and said something about an uncircumcised dick, and I was like, yeah, that had to be somebody else
Yeah.
because I didn't bring that up.
No. It was Aiden right before you.
I was snipped at birth.
Amen, brother.
Yeah. Those things scare the shit out of me. Like I watch, especially now that I'm single again, you watch a fair amount of porn, and every once in a while, they pull out a fucking unkempt sausage, and you're just like, God damn it. You gotta undress it like it's an ear of corn.
You know, it's funny you say that because you go to like those websites that host that type of thing, and it'll be like they'll have a billion categories, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
things
yeah.
you can't even possibly like. Holy shit, somebody's into that
Oh,
specific
yeah.
thing
For sure.
But I've never seen cut or uncut, like as the partner, like as being an option. Where I'm like,
yeah.
could you?
Just fully wrapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I have a very specific fetish. They must be cut. How you took your football team, made it to another Super Bowl?
yeah, didn't do real. We picked a bad day to play like shit.
Yeah.
Just kind of like the Tampa Bay Super Bowl. It was over so early. I had everybody over, and my house was empty by the end of the third quarter.
In Kansas, watching
Oh, yeah.
everybody's
I mean,
favorite team.
Done.
They bailed.
Well, it was also like one of those like we played so poorly.
Yeah.
So poorly that it was like, well, what? This isn't fun to watch. Like I didn't even know we scored the 22. Like when I turned it off, we had 3.
I stuck around because I had some parlay, bets, player parlays.
Yeah.
I wanted to see
how
much I was going to lose, which I did.
It was, going into halftime, you have that whole like, well, we've done this before. And then the first drive, we went 3 and out, and then it was like, well, we better get it here. And it wasn't even close. And it was like, okay, let's watch Archer.
Go Archer. We've talked in the past, sir, about your love and connection with the Black Crowes.
Yeah.
And they just got nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
Your thoughts,
and
sir?
a Grammy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they got a Grammy nom for Best Rock Album, which I was waiting to see what happened if they went because...
Went to the Grammys?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know. I don't think they did, but I know Chris back in the day was always like, I would never, even I got a Grammy, I wouldn't go.
Yeah.
I was like, that's easy to say when you haven't.
I mean, he said similar things about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And now he's backtracked that.
And that-
like,
yeah. So it's like, but also with age comes wisdom. Like we're all punk rock. It's easy to be a punk rocker in your 20s.
Yeah, of course.
And then in your 40s, you're like, no, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty neat to be in the fucking Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's also like, I feel like that's anyone that's not in the Hall of Fame of anything. They're like, it's all political. And it's like, no, man, you just weren't great.
Yeah.
And
There's a few you see and you're like, oh, why aren't they? But
yeah, like you, Bo Jackson should get at least like a plaque in the entryway.
Yes.
Because he was, I understand that he didn't play long enough to get in. Like, I get that. But also, we all saw what was coming.
It was insane.
It was going to be insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Cincinnati. Motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was in the football, right?
Yeah.
When
It was.
That's right.
Going
Hit him out of bounds or something, wasn't it?
No. It was. I mean, no one did anything dirty. He tried to go for an extra yard.
That's right.
And they said when he put so much force on his leg that he shredded the joint.
Yeah.
Some shit.
Yeah, he was one of the best.
Yeah.
One of the best. What was I going to bring up now? I saw you did a podcast with Yakov Smirnov.
Yeah, that was in Springfield, Missouri.
That is wild, man.
That was a crazy, and I remember sitting there in the green, because you shoot it in the green room of the comedy club.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there. They're all setting up, and I really had this like weird moment where I was like in my parents' bedroom watching Evening at the Improv and watching this dude, and then kind of coming to and being like, I'm about to be interviewed by him because of what I've done in this field.
Yeah.
And it was definitely it's the coolest day I've ever had in Springfield, Missouri. That's for sure. But it was just this weird hour of me just going, and I think I even bring it to light in that interview where I'm just like, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
12-year-old me is over the moon right now.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there were just a handful of celebrity comedians back then, and he was one of them.
And then also I'm a huge, and I didn't even realize it at the time, but like Night Court's probably my favorite sitcom of all time.
Nice.
And so like it just had so many intertwinings of 80s comedy.
Yeah.
That, it was it was mind-blowing. He couldn't have been a nicer guy. I had to be clean, and it was, it's weird to be as honest and try to like not say fuck and all that stuff.
Oh, they told you that beforehand. Huh?
Oh yeah. Well, he's a clean.
That's true.
He's clean. He's in Branson.
Yeah.
You gotta know your crowd.
Yeah.
And but yeah, no, that was definitely like a feather in the cap that no one gives a shit about.
How about mom and dad when they found out?
Could care. They were like, yeah, that's cool.
Really?
Yeah. They're like, really? That's cool. I don't think you get how great it is unless you are a working comic.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you kind of realize, like, when he was doing it, it was everyone was like me, where you're like, I don't even know how to start doing that.
Yeah.
It was like this like they all showed up on magic carpets. And now it's like, I know how to do it because it's on TikTok. There's literally a video that shows you how to become a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, we could break that down for hours.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Hey, I wanted to ask you, this was the thing that I slipped my mind a couple moments ago I wanted to ask you about. You're known for somebody who enjoys pot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Last night on stage, you mentioned looking up the pot laws in Minnesota, how they're sort of confusing. It's legal. There's nowhere to buy it.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I looked up the pot laws in Kansas and Missouri.
Very different.
And it's fascinating.
Yeah. And the hilarious thing is, Kansas City, for those of you who don't know, it's not like Dallas and Fort Worth, where they're separated by like 45 minutes. Kansas City, Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri, for all intents and purposes, is one city. Yeah. Government municipalities say, yes, we're different because taxes. But there's literally a road that's called State Line Road.
Oh, look at that. Okay.
And that's one side's Kansas, one side's Missouri.
Yeah.
And there's no break. And I live on the last block, but the end of my block is State Line.
Get out of here.
And so I can drive 4 minutes to buy weed. I can gamble on sports. It's like it's so perfect.
Crazy.
And
what you're saying, sports gambling's legal in Missouri and not Kansas as well?
No. Well, and I think it changed. I think Missouri just did sports gambling, but it's not in effect.
Oh, okay.
But for the longest time, it was Kansas sports gambling, marijuana in Missouri.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
That is wild.
But I think Kansas at some point will flip on the pot stuff just because they're starting to become surrounded by it.
Oh, sure.
And I think they just see Kansas isn't a very we don't have a lot of money.
Okay.
And so any tax income they can get would be beneficial.
I mean, there's farming there. Those guys probably want to grow something else.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for all the people that need that farm-to-table wheat.
Farmer's market? Come on.
Come on, and just sitting there with their bushels of wheat. That's like the one thing you can't buy organic.
Yeah, right.
It's like no one's like, no, I make my own flour.
Yeah, I have hand soap. It's organic.
It's
Yes.
organic. No, I make it all in the garage.
Hey, what do you think of last week when Acme posted each week on the social media, they'll post all the people that participated in open mic.
Oh, okay.
And a friend of mine reached out to me and she was like, hey, are you at open mic right now? And I wasn't. And she said, well, because a friend of mine is there for the first time ever doing open mic as punishment for losing their fantasy football league.
That's a great punishment.
You like that? That's
do.
what I wanted to know. Okay.
I do. I mean, I'm sure some purists will be like, you're disrespecting our craft. And it's like, no.
I've seen those comments on like Facebook. People, when this has come up in other
No,
places.
because that's funny. At the end of the day, that's funny. That guy doesn't want to be up there. He's doing it as a punishment.
Yeah.
He's good. The jokes are going to be terrible and probably racist. And like, no, I mean, that's kind of, I've reached this level in my career, and it happened all of a sudden where I was a comic fighting for everything. Then all of a sudden I was in this echelon where people are like, you made it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, and I don't know. Those are old nomenclatures that people bestow on you, I think. I don't feel any different now than I do. But I do feel like you reach a point as a comic where a lot of that shit, like you reach a level as a comic where you realize another comic's success does not take away from your success. And as a young comic, you don't have that. As a young comic, you're like, that motherfucker got that, and I didn't. That motherfucker took it from me.
Yeah.
And that, it's a level of ignorance more than anything. And ignorance not meaning that you're dumb, just that you don't know.
You haven't learned yet.
You haven't learned yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that a lot, that happened with TikTok. When all these TikTokers started playing comedy clubs and all these guys were like, oh, they're taking our nights. And they're not taking my nights. And also, you didn't have nights. The people that draw are fine. And also, these TikTokers are paying for you to have a night. When a club can make a bunch of money off some idiot coming in and being on stage for 15 minutes, and they just clear, and it's just money for the club, that affords them a weekend to spend on you.
Yeah.
And for you not to draw shit.
I love your angle of doing that, like you did it last night, where instead of a lot of comedians are doing it where they're, they'll talk to the crowd during the show. They'll do crowd work during the show, then put that out on TikTok.
Yes.
And they're not burning material.
100%.
What I see you've been doing, I think you did it last year too, is you do your set. There's really no crowd interaction. There's a little bit when people are talking out of turn and you address them like, let's move on though. But then at the end, you kind of do a Q&A with the crowd.
And that's all for socials.
I figured.
Yeah.
And it's working well, obviously.
It works well.
Yeah.
It's a little different. It doesn't, I don't know, some crowd work. Like, I love Big J. Like, he does it really well, where it doesn't come from a mean place, even when he's making fun of you. Mm-hmm. But especially younger comics, I guess. It's just kind of a mean, like, what do you do? You're stupid. Well, maybe it's because she's fucking somebody else or like that.
Yeah.
And, sometimes that's funny, but a lot of times it's just sending out bad vibes for no reason.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think it comes from a better place when the audience is just being curious. And then also allows me to be a little more vulnerable than I would have been. Like, I would have never brought Lucy out on stage.
Right, yeah.
But they wanted to see the dog. And I'm like, yeah, fuck it, let's bring her out.
It was great.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
There's definitely nights it gets out of hand. But shows get out of hand without a Q&A.
Did you do any research on the cultural whatever that woman has last night?
Oh, yeah.
Dear God.
There was a woman that was like, what cultural moments have you witnessed in Minneapolis? I was like, I wasn't here for George Floyd. I don't know any other one.
I live here, and I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
What?
Well, one time in Peoria, Illinois, a dude came to the Thursday show, realized I was doing a Q&A, wrote for 2 days, and then came to the Saturday show.
No.
Loaded. And it was like, what would you do if your dragon blew a flat tire? And, it was all this like weird shit that you could tell he was doing dabs and just putting words together. And like,
How long did you play along?
about the first question he asked, of course, you're just like, what?
Yeah.
And then the second one he asked was even more weird. And I go, how are you coming up with these? And then he just completely fessed up. And
Oh my God, he did homework.
he did, yeah. Which you got to admire.
That's amazing.
He was like, no, I'm going to come back. I'm going to make an impression.
Oh my God, that is fantastic. I saw you post a picture of. Well, first of all, what was this gigantic weekend you had in Nashville, where like you're fucking playing on stage? Looks like you did a comedy show. You went out to dinner with Jelly Roll and all this stuff. Am I combining several
you're combining
events?
several events.
Okay.
Okay,
That's why you look confused.
there was a dinner. Okay, there was a dinner in L.A. that was with Zach Myers from Shinedown, who's one of my best friends.
Yep.
And Bert
Oh, okay.
Kreischer
Okay.
and Jelly.
That's
and,
what. Okay.
and two other people that weren't in the photo because they weren't creative. And
Who pays for that dinner?
probably Bert or Jelly, whoever. I tend to run in a group, whether it's that group or another group that is more in my private life. I run with groups, and everyone should aspire to this. Find a group that fights for the bill. Find a group that is trying to sneak around to the waitress, and find a group that's the game. Because for a long time I was in the group of the split. We're all going to split it. And that group sucks. That group always has a problem. The guys that just hang out and we're like, no, motherfucker, tonight I treat. Those are the best groups. So show up to a dinner that I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to go. I was getting over an illness and I thought I was being irresponsible. Oh. And my buddy Zach called me a word I won't say on stage and said, get to dinner. And I said, okay. And so I came to dinner, and I'm sitting across from Jelly, and I've known each other for 4 or 5 years. We've been very close. One night, the night I was at Jelly's Grand Ole Opry debut. And then afterwards, I went to the after party and got very drunk. Somehow ended up on stage playing guitar and singing with a band. And apparently did pretty well. So Jelly at dinner goes, hey, I'm going out with Bert on this Fully Loaded tour. We're going to do like 4 nights, and I'm going to go up and sing songs. I go, oh, that's going to be fun. He goes, it's going to be a lot of fun because you're going to play guitar for me. And I was like, yeah, okay. So went home, and for 3 months, learned all these songs and practiced them. They're not hard. The songs themselves took a day to learn. It was how am I going to react to what? I never played guitar in front of more than like a packed bar, like 300 people.
Yeah.
Night one was 8,000 people. And so
Are these his songs or covers?
they're all his songs and a cut. And literally he's walking in like I'm a legit musician. He's like, you know what, tonight we're going to do this, and then we'll take the verse out and then do the chorus. And I'm like, but also in my head, I'm like, buddy, these are all the same chords for me. Like you just tell me when to stop playing.
Wow.
And, but very nervous. First 2 nights we had some technical difficulties of assorted nature, and then the third night he was like, fuck this. He got me in-ear monitors. Ooh. And we like went full like Jelly Roll. And yeah, I played the songs way too fast. I was very nervous, but Jelly was very gracious, and it was a lot of fun. But so that was that, and then
that is incredible.
So that kind of put me playing it, that got blasted out to everything. So then Brad Williams had me open for him at the Ryman.
Okay.
And so then he was like, you and Zach come out and play guitar, and we're going to have Chris Kirkpatrick in the audience from NSYNC. And we're going to do this and we did this whole thing where we were on stage, and Brad goes, hey, we look like a boy band. Too bad we don't have a boy band, too bad we don't have any songs. And Chris stands up in the audience, and
hilarious.
It was a great moment, and it worked, and it was funny. But yeah, it's just,
was there a roast of Jelly Roll?
There was a roast of Jelly Roll, and I'm not a roaster. That's not my forte. So, and especially if I don't know the people very well. And so I just wrote. I did a couple. I'll be honest with you. Whitney Cummings bailed me out. She literally like, here's 3 jokes I don't need. Like
Wow.
I literally don't have time for these. And I was like, great. And so I used those. I had like 2 jokes of my own, and then Zach and I had written basically the blueprint for every Jelly Roll song, and
funny.
just sang that. And his band was sitting front row, and they were just dying.
Oh, that's
laughing.
awesome.
Yeah,
They probably ate it up.
Yeah, it was a good time, and it was just, it was like, this is a Jelly Roll song. If your life has gone wrong, then this song is for you. You don't know what to do. Don't blame the Jews. It's probably on you. Just stuff like that. And
Straight to the top of the charts.
yeah. And
Is
so,
that night available anywhere to watch?
I mean, and that's what was crazy. It's like we all showed up not really. I was like, well, they're not gonna film it, so it's pretty low key, and like you don't have to. Like Big J didn't know it was a roast till he showed up. And so, like, literally his whole bit was him talking about how it wasn't a roast.
Funny.
Or how it wasn't supposed to be a roast.
Yeah. That's wild.
But then, walked out there to do sound check, and there's 9 cameras.
Holy shit.
Yeah. It was a great night. And
well, speaking of that, do you have plans to record, or have you already, the material you're doing right now?
Yeah.
That I saw last night.
As a matter of fact, we just closed. I'm doing it in New Orleans.
Okay.
At the Joy Theater or something like that. April 15th.
Oh, wow.
We just kind of closed that deal, and I was on. As a matter of fact, I was online looking for second line bands in Kansas City, so I could maybe film a promo or something. So I bought a shirt that says, it's got a crawdad on it. It says, "It's not gonna suck itself."
Stop.
I did.
Stop. Are you going to
I'm
fucking wear
gonna
it?
wear it for the promo. So that's kind of the plan right now.
I didn't see that coming. That's fantastic. Well, let's finish with one final thing. How are your Royals going to be this year? I also saw a picture of you hobnobbing with fucking George Brett last year.
Oh, that was kind of that was an epic evening. That was kind of the evening that ended up leading me to moving home. But
Okay.
my buddy's in the ownership group, and
Of the Royals?
of the when they they just got bought like 4 or 5 years ago, and he's a very successful businessman, and bought in.
Wow.
And so
Okay.
I called him. I'm like, I'm gonna come in for this, hopefully not last. What ended up being the last game, but
Yeah.
I was like, I'm coming in for this. He was like, I got a seat for you. It's expensive, but you can have it. I was like, cool. And I paid the money and got in, and literally sitting next to Bill Self, the Jayhawks coach.
Yeah.
And who, look, man, I don't get starstruck by a lot of people, but he's, I'm a diehard Jayhawks fan,
Yeah.
and he's a golden god in Lawrence. So he goes, man, I'm real fascinated by what you do. And I was like, yeah, same. And he goes, say you go into a show and it's not really going well. What do you do? And I go, well, it depends. I go, if the audience, I think, is just they're just being uppity, I just dig my heels in and make them pay. And I go, but if I get up there and I realize like this gig, I shouldn't have been booked for this or whatever, I go, I make adjustments and I try to make everybody happy. And he goes, so yeah, you go in with a plan. If it doesn't work, you adjust. And I said, yeah. He goes, so we do the same thing. And I'm like, yeah, no. There's no banners at the Dayton Funny Bone for times I killed. So no.
You don't get a halftime. You don't get a break in between
No,
your
no,
middle
no.
of your set.
So, but yeah, that was.
I'm going to
that was-
rewrite these jokes
that
for the
was a
second
cool
half.
convo.
Imagine if that was a thing.
Yeah.
You walk off stage, fuck, they're not liking this. I'm going to completely. Yeah.
They're not, okay, let's get back in there. We're going to try something else.
Tell you
Stay
what, we're
off
back in 10.
Stay off the political stuff. All right. Family on 3.
Just you coaching yourself back there. Oh, we got an escaped dog here.
Yeah, she's all right. Lulu, what are you doing?
Yeah, she's good. Anything else we should be mentioning here?
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm good.
You're
I'm
good.
Yeah.
We got it all out there?
I need to use the restroom pretty good. So.
That's perfect.
All right.
We'll let people know you need to use the restroom.
I got to take a dump.
I know a couple of the shows are sold out already this weekend.
Friday, Saturday, the early ones.
Friday
yeah.
early sold out, still available for the late shows. And if this
Yeah.
gets out in time, Thursday night here as well.
Come on.
It's a great show. I was there. I was here at the club last night to see the show. Fantastic.
It'd be
great
weird.
Host, great feature.
It'd be weird if you were here, like you were like, I was here last night, and it is what it is. But anyway, come on out.
I was here last night, and just contact me. I'll tell you what you missed, and you don't have to show up.
Yeah.
Hell no. See it for yourself. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, brother.